What's up, Crim Heist? Welcome to another Criminology educational video. And for today, we will be discussing Introduction to Criminology. By the way, my name is Sean Francis Sandiego, also known as the Professor. So before we jump into our discussion, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the Professor, and hit the notification bell for you to be updated for my next upload. So for our topic outline, we will be discussing the classification of crimes or what are the different classification of crimes as well as the concepts on the existence of crime. So dadaanan din natin dito what are the stages of execution of felony as well as the elements of crime. So first, let us define what is crime. Crime refers to an act or omission in violation of public law forbidding or commanding it. So crime may be classified as an offense, felony, and misdemeanor. So before we jump into the classification of crimes, let us first have a discussion about mala inse and mala prohibita para mas magdali nating maintindihan yung difference ng offense and felony. So first is mala inse. When we say mala inse, the act done by the person is inherently evil or bad or wrong and can be considered as the violations of the revised penal code. So ang magiging keyword lang natin dito kay mala inse is that it is considered as the violations of the revised penal code as well as in the concept naman ng mala inse, it is inherently wrong. So it is very wrong from its very nature. So yung nature ng act is inherently evil or bad. While dito naman kay mala prohibita, the act done by the person is not inherently wrong, but it is considered as a crime because there is a law prohibiting such act and can be considered as violation of special penal laws. So ang keyword natin dito is that violations of special penal laws. So as to the concept of mala prohibita, the nature of the act is not inherently wrong. So hindi naman talaga siya mali. But because there is a law that prohibits or commands the act, so therefore, mako-consider yung act na yon as a crime if hindi mo siya ginawa or ginawa mo siya. Next would be offense. When we say offense, it is punishable by special laws. So violations of special laws are generally referred to as malum prohibitum or mala prohibita. But take note that not all violations of special laws are mala prohibita. While intentional felonies are always mala inse, it does not follow that prohibited acts done in violation of special laws are always mala prohibita. Even if the crime is punished under a special law, if the act is punished is one which is inherently wrong, the same is malum inse, and therefore good faith and lack of criminal intent is a valid defense, unless it is the product of criminal negligence or culpa. So para mas maintindihan natin, I will give you an explanation or an example. So the example is Presidential Decree number 532. So that law is a special law because it is outside the revised penal code and it punishes piracy in Philippine waters. So it is considered as a special law because it punishes brigandage in the highways. So the act is inherently wrong. So as to the definition of mala inse, mako-consider natin na ang act ay isang mala inse if the nature of the act is inherently wrong. So, as to PB 532, yung act is inherently wrong, although it is punished under the special law, mako-consider pa din natin that PD 532 is a mala inse. So, a good example of an offense are prostitution and gambling. So, they are not inherently wrong, but just because there is a law that prohibits those acts, kaya sila kino-considered as an offense. Now, let's jump into felony. When we say felony, it is punishable by the revised penal code. So, violations of the revised penal code are referred to as malum inse, which literally means that the act is inherently evil or bad or per se wrongful. So, therefore, ang nature ng act na act na ginawa to be considered as felony is inherently wrong. Kaya si felony ay kinoconsider natin as mala inse or malum inse. So these are examples of felony: homicide and robbery or theft. So these are inherently wrong. So killing someone's life or getting someone's property. So these are inherently wrong. So the nature of the act is wrong from its very beginning. The last one is misdemeanor. So these are usually violations of ordinances, such as jaywalking. So katulad yan, no pedestrian crossing, use the crosswalk, pero hindi niya ginamit yung crosswalk at tumawid siya. Also, spitting on the floor of this car. So that's an ordinance. Next is crimes may be classified into two. So, maaari siyang i-classified as legal and criminological perspective. So, first, let us go to legal. So, the classifications of crime, according to its legal point of view, is makikita natin sa Revised Penal Code, Book 2, Articles 114 to 367. So, here are the titles. So, Title 1, Crimes Against National Security and the Laws of the Nation. Title 2, Crimes Against the Fundamentals Law of the State. Title 3, Crimes Against Public Order. Title 4, Crimes Against Public Interest. Title 5, Crimes Relative to Opium and Prohibited Drugs. Title 6, Crimes Against Public Morals. Title 7, Crimes Against Committed by Public Officers. Title 8, Crimes Against Person. Title 9, Crimes Against Personal Liberty and Security. Title 10, Crimes Against Property. Title 11, Crimes Against Chastity. Title 12, Crimes Against Civil Status of Persons. Title 13, Crimes Against Honor. Title 14, Quasi-Offenses. And Title 15, Final Provisions. Now, let's go to the criminological classification of crime. Criminological classification of crime. So, these are classifications of crimes according to the point of view of criminology. So first is category A. So for category A, hahati siya sa dalawa. It's acquisitive and extinctive. So when we say acquisitive, it is one which when committed, the offender acquires something as a consequences of his criminal act. So yung acquisitive, from the word itself, acquiring. So acquiring something to the victim. So usually yung mga acquisitive crimes, these are crimes against property. While yung isa naman is extinctive when the result of criminal act is destruction. So usually these are crimes against property. Next is category B. For category B, seasonal are those that are committed only at a certain period of the years. So kumbaga seasonal lang siya. So nangyayari lang yung mga crimes na to at a certain period of the year. Next is situational, are committed only when a given situation conducive to its commission. So, kapag may opportunity lang. So, doon nangyayari yung commission ng crime. Next is category C, instant and episodic. So, for instance, these are committed the shortest possible time. So, mabilisang pag-commit lang ng crime. While yung episodic or serial crimes, so they are committed by means of series of acts within a lengthy space of time. So episodic, usually these are committed, kumbaga series of crimes to. Next is category B. So nahati siya sa dalawa, static and transitory. So when we say static, are crimes committed only in one place. While for transitory are those committed in several places. Next, category E. So, nahati yan sa dalawa, rational and irrational. So, when we say rational, these are committed with intent. Offender is in full possession of his mental faculties. So, kumbaga, ginawa ito ng isang offender on its full possession of his mental faculties. Nasa tamang pag-iisip siya nung ginawa niya ito. He is motivated. Meron siyang intention kung bakit niya ginawa yung crime or bakit niya ginawa yung offense. While for irrational are committed without intent. offender does not know the nature of his act. So, kumbaga, wala siyang alam. Wala siya sa tamang pag-iisip. So, kumbaga siya, a good example is a criminal with mental illness or mentally incapable siya para mag-isip o para iproseso yung mga bagay-bagay at hindi siya aware na gumawa siya ng crime. Next is category F. So it is divided into white collar and blue collar. So for white collar, these are committed by a person of responsibility and of upper socio-economic class in the course of their occupational activities. So usually, ito yung mga matataas na tao or merong mga professions wherein yung crime na ginawa nila are inconnected to their mandated function. As to blue collar are those committed by ordinary professionals to maintain their livelihood. The last one is category G. So these are crimes of the upper world and crimes of the lower world. For crimes of the upper world, these are crimes committed by large-scale syndicate. And while for the lower world, these are committed by amateur criminals like snatching. So when we say amateur criminals, hindi sila experienced. Kumbaga, mag-isa lang sila. They are not into a large group of syndicate. So kumbaga, amateurs lang sila. Mga baguhan. Next is the criminal formula. So, meron din palang mathematics si criminology. So, for criminal formula, in explaining the birth of crime, we must consider the three factors. Nandiyan yung criminal tendencies, the total situation, the person's mental and emotional resistance to temptation. So, meron niyang specific letters. So, this formula was devised by David Abrahamson, the forensic psychologist, wherein si letter C daw, this is the crime or the criminal behavior or the act itself. While letter T represents criminal tendency or the desire or intent or the motive of the criminal in engaging to criminal behavior. As to letter S, these are the total situation or the opportunity given to the criminal kung ba't niya ginawa yung crime na yon. And it will be divided into the resistance to temptation, which is letter R, or the control. The formula shows that a person's criminal tendency and his resistance to them may either result in criminal depending upon which of them is stronger. This means that a crime or criminal behavior exists when the person's resistance is insufficient to withstand the pressure of his desire or intent and the opportunity. So, ibig sabihin, pagka daw na-outweigh ng opportunity and motive yung tao, they will engage or they will be vulnerable in committing crime. So, mas mataas ang opportunity and mas mataas ang motive. So, motivated yung criminal. Next is impossible crime. So, what is impossible crime? So, as to the concept or as to the definition, it is an act which would be an offense against person or property. So, mahalagang tandaan yan that these are offense against person or property. Was it not for the inherent impossibility of accomplishment or on account of the employment of inadequate or ineffectual means. So a good illustration is, accused was a houseboy in a house where only a spinters reside. It is customary for the spinters to sleep naked because her room was warm. It was also the habit of the houseboy that whenever she enters her room, the houseboy would follow and peek into the keyhole. So maninilip siya. Finally, when the houseboy could no longer resist the urge, he climbed into the ceiling, went inside the room of his master, placed himself on top of her, and abused her. So, they-rape siya. Not knowing that she was already dead 5 minutes earlier. So, kumbaga, yung babae na nakahubad na ni-rape nung lalaki or nung houseboy are dead 5 minutes earlier habang nire-rape niya or before niya rapin yung babae. So, is an impossible crime committed? So, according to the concept of impossible crime, these are offenses against person and property. So, to answer the question, yes, there is an impossible crime committed. Why? So, before, kasi, ang act of rape is crimes against chastity. And as we all know that impossible crime is only for crimes against person or property. But there is a new law that amends the revised penal code, that is Republic Act 8353, the new rape law, which amends and classify rape as a crimes against person. So therefore, yung rape is considered as crimes against person, therefore, may impossible crime na nangyari. Again, impossible crime can only be committed if it is against person or property. Next would be the stages of execution of felony. So first would be consummated felony. So it is considered consummated when all the elements necessary for its execution and accomplishment are present. So kumbaga, nagawa niya lahat ng elements necessary para makomit yung crime, and naging successful siya in accomplishing or in committing the crime. So kumbaga, kung gusto niyang patayin to, napatay niya, consummated felony. Next would be frustrated felony. So it is frustrated when the offender performs all the acts of execution which would produce the felony as a consequence, but which nevertheless do not produce it by reason of causes independent of the will of the perpetrator. So paano itong frustrated felony? Para siyang consummated felony, nagawa niya lahat ng acts, elements that is necessary to produce the felony. Pero ang pagkakaiba niya lang, hindi naging successful. Walang nangyari, hindi na-produce yung felony. So, for example, gusto kong patayin si Cardo, sinaksa ko na siya ng napakaraming beses, pero hindi pa rin siya namatay. So, that is frustrated felony. Kumbaga, ginawa ko lahat para ma-produce ko yung felony, pero due to circumstances against the independent will of the perpetrator, hindi pa rin na-consummate or hindi pa din na-produce yung crime. Next is attempted felony. So there is an attempt when the offender commences the commission of a felony directly by overt acts and does not perform all the acts of execution which should not produce the felony by reason of some cause or accident other than his own spontaneous desistance. So against pa rin sa will niya yun, nasimulan niya na yung mga acts necessary for the commission of crime to produce the felony, pero hindi niya natapos. Hindi niya nagawa lahat. Unlike kay frustrated, nagawa niya lahat pero hindi na-produce yung felony. And unlike kay consummated, nagawa niya lahat at nag-produce yung felony. Next would be the three basic elements of crime. So this would be the last topic for our video discussion. So first would be the intent. So the actor must have had a guilty mind. So kailangan may intention or may motibo siya kung bakit niya gustong gawin yung krimen. So what is the basis? Actus non facit reum nisimen sit rea. So the act not committed if the mind of the person performing the act complained of being innocent. So ibig sabihin, hindi siya pwedeng tawagin or hindi siya mako-considered as a criminal if wala siyang guilty mind. Wala siyang intention to commit the act. Next would be knowledge. It refers to whether the behavior in questions was done knowingly. So, ibig sabihin, is he or she mentally capable or in full possession of mental faculties nung ginawa niya yung krimen na yun? Nasa tamang pag-iisip ba siya? Is he or she knowledgeable of the acts na ginagawa niya? At siya ba ay nasa tamang ulirat na alam niya na gumagawa siya ng isang felony or ng isang krimen? And the last one would be freedom. It refers to whether the actor exercises free will. So, nasa tama free will ba siya or ginagawa niya ba ito dahil ito ay kagustuhan niya o may pumipilit sa kanya. So, kailangan ginagawa niya ito dahil gusto niya. At may kalayaan siya na ginagawa ito. So, the basis is actus me invito factus non est meus actus. Ang sinasabi dito is that the act done by me against my will is not my act. So note, in order for a crime to happen, all those three elements, freedom, knowledge, and intent, must be present para mag-produce ng felony. So thank you very much, and I do hope that you learned a lot for today's video discussion. If you like this video, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the professor, and hit the notification bell for you to be updated for my next video upload. Thank you very much.